ידיד נפש, אב הרחמן, משוכב דם, ארץ העונה, ירוץ עבדם, כמו היה, ישתחווה, אל מול הנערה, ירב לו ידידותה, מנוף וצוף וחותה, ירב לו ידידותה, מנוף וצוף וחותה. ידיד נפש, אב הרחמן, משוכב דם, ארץ העונה, ירוץ עבדם, כמו היה, ישתחווה, אל מול הנערה, ירב לו ידידותה, מנוף וצוף וחותה, ירב לו ידידותה, מנוף וצוף וחותה. ופרוס חביב עליי את סוכת שלום, תאיר ארץ מכבודך, נגילה היי ונשמחה בהר אהוב כי במועד, בכל עיני כימי עולם, בהר אהוב כי במועד, בכל עיני כימי עולם.
And let's try that again. Shabbat Shalom.
Shabbat Shalom.
It is such a pleasure to be here with you at Temple Emanuel of South Hills and with those of you who are joining us in the virtual space. As you can see, we have changed sides of the building, and it is so wonderful to welcome you back into the sanctuary with the special help of Jeff Fitting. Thank you, sir. We have the new technology here in the sanctuary that allows us to live stream our services, and I am so excited we are able to get this done not only for Shabbat tonight, but before the Benot Mitzvah, before the dual Bat Mitzvah of two remarkable young women. You'll see them later on in our service. But how good it is, how special that we can be here, that we can be together in this space.
Amen. Page 10. Hine ma tov. Hine ma tov u'manayim, shevet achim gam yachad. Hine ma tov u'manayim, shevet achim gam yachad. Hine ma tov, hine ma tov. Tov, hine ma tov, yadadai, hine ma tov u'manayim, shevet achim gam yachad, hine ma tov u'manayim, shevet achim gam yachad.
Ma nora hamakom hazeh, how great, how awesome is this space? I refer not only to this sanctuary in which we sit, but to words taken from this week's Torah portion when Jacob wakes up from his dream. He says, surely God's presence is in this place. How great is this place? Indeed, it is wonderful to be back here. Indeed, it is wonderful to recognize the transformation that happens to our patriarch Jacob in this week's Torah portion. And we invite you to join us for a musical setting of these words of Torah. This may be new to you, as it was new to me, but you will catch on quickly, and we hope you will sing with us.
Absolutely. So, ma nora hamakom hazeh. How awesome, how filled with awe is this place. Please sing along. I promise it's very easy to catch on to. We'll repeat it a few times through, so whenever you feel comfortable, just join in on ma nora hamakom hazeh. Ma nora hamakom hazeh. That's all. Manora hamakom hazeh. Manora hamakom hazeh. Let's try that. Manora hamakom hazeh.
Indeed, how good it is to be together in this space as we celebrate not only Shabbat, but the upcoming Bat Mitzvah of Micah and Sophia. Would you join us now on the pulpit? Don, would you join us as well as we turn in our prayer books to page 2 as we bring in the light of Shabbat into this space? Who shall I entrust with the microphone?
If you don't have the microphone, you might have a candle. So.
Let Mom sit in the middle. Yeah, Mom here. Okay.
Record, that's how I feel. Whenever
Tishanu b'mitzvah tov, v'tilanu la'as v'nicher shel Shabbat. Blessed are you, Adonai, our God, sovereign of the universe, who hallows us with mitzvot, commanding us to kindle the light of Shabbat.
Amen.
Amen.
Thank you so much. And I would invite you to turn in your prayer books now to page 5 for words of Kiddush. If it is comfortable for you to do so, we have been rising for this prayer. I would invite you to do so if you desire as we join in Kiddush.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, borei peri hagafen. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, asher kitshanu b'mitzvotav v'ratzavanu, v'shabbat kodsho be'ahava uvratzon hinchilanu, zikaron lema'aseh v'reshit, ki hu yom techila b'mikra'ei kodesh, zecher tziat Mitzrayim, kivanu v'chata v'yotanu kidashta mikol hamim, v'shabbat kodecha ve'ahava uvratzon inchaltanu. Baruch atah Adonai mekadesh haShabbat. Amen.
You're welcome to be seated. We turn in our prayer books now to page 12 as we begin the Psalms of Shabbat, as we lift our voices, as we lift our souls in preparation for our day of rest. Lechu naranana ladonai, let us sing joyously to our God, raising a shout for our rock and our deliverer.
Lechu naranana ladonai, nariya litzur yishenu. Lechu naranana ladonai, nariya litzur yishenu. Tekatma fana v'toda, izmerot nariya lo. Lechu naranana ladonai, nariya litzur yishenu. Tekatma fana v'toda, izmerot nariya lo. Yai lai 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 lai. Izmerot nariya lo, tekatma fana v'toda, izmerot nariya lo.
Words of Lecha Dodi on pages 20 and 21 celebrate this day, welcome a personification of this day. You know, in Jewish tradition, when Shabbat arrives, we get a second soul, according to tradition. Just a little something extra that brings us joy and gladness, that helps us celebrate this day. In Evelyn and Eli's world, that second soul is pretty hungry for a second dessert on Shabbat. But we recognize that joy and happiness in many different ways, including as we sing this joyous melody, welcoming those souls, welcoming Shabbat. Words of Lecha Dodi, pages 20 and 21.
Lecha Dodi likrat kala yadadai 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 ne Shabbat ne kabila. Lecha Dodi likrat kala yadadai 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 ne Shabbat ne kabila. Shalmor v'zachor v'dibur echad hishmianu el hamiyuchad Adonai echad ushmo echad l'shem ultiferet v'litila Lecha Dodi likrat kala yadadai 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 ne Shabbat ne kabila Lecha Dodi likrat kala yadadai 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 ne Shabbat ne kabila Likrat Shabbat lechu v'nelcha ki hi mekor ha'beracha Verosh mekedem nesucha sof ma'aseh b'machshava techila Lecha Dodi likrat kala yadadai 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 ne Shabbat ne kabila Lecha Dodi likrat kala yadadai 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 ne Shabbat ne kabila Hitoreri ki va'orech kumi ori uri shir daveri k'vod Adonai alayich nigla Lecha Dodi likrat kala yadadai 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 ne Shabbat ne kabila Lecha Dodi likrat kala yadadai 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 ne Shabbat ne kabila Toi v'shalom ateret bala Gam b'simcha uv'tzola Toch emunei am segula Boi chala Lecha Dodi likrat kala yadadai 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 ne Shabbat ne kabila Lecha Dodi likrat kala yadadai 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 ne Shabbat ne kabila
While you're up, while you are mobile, would you take this opportunity to turn to the people beside you, to wish them a Shabbat Shalom as we form sacred community this evening? Tell me everything sounds great. Awesome. Thank you. And I invite you to take your seats again as we turn to page 24. Continuing that theme of welcoming, we welcome God's ministering angels. There are angels throughout our tradition, not all as kind and nice as those we see here, certainly, but we welcome them all in celebration of this day.
Shalom Aleichem, Malachei Hasharet, Malachei Elyon, Mihi Melech Malchei HaMelachim HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Borechem Shalom, Malachei Hashalom, Malchei Elyon, Mihi Melech Malchei HaMelachim Kadosh Baruch Hu. Barchuni l'shalom
join me in the English in the middle of page 27? Teach me, O God, a blessing, a prayer, on the mystery of a withered leaf, on ripened fruit so fair, on the freedom to see, to sense, to breathe, to know, to hope, to despair. Teach my lips a blessing, a hymn of praise, as each morning and night you renew your days. Lest my day be today as the one before, lest routine set my ways.
Yitkadol v'yitkadash shemei Rabba.
Amen.
Ve'alma divrach yirutei ve'amlich malchutei. B'chayechon u'v'yom echon u'v'chayei dechol beit Yisrael. Bagala, bagala u'v'izman kariv le'himru. Amen. Yehei shmei Rabba mevarach le'alam u'almei almaya yitbarach yitbarach v'yishtabach v'yitpa'ar v'yitromam v'yitnaseh v'yitodar v'yitaleh v'yithalal shemei dekudesha b'richu le'ela min kol birchata v'shirata tushbechata v'nechemata da'amiran be'alma v'himru. Amen.
Just to make sure you're getting in your exercise tonight, I would invite you to rise again as we turn in our prayer books, page 28, our Baruch Hu praise.
Baruch Hu et Adonai HaMevorach. Baruch Adonai HaMevorach le'olam va'ed.
Together on the top of page 31. Praise to you, Adonai, our God, from whom the evening flows. Your wisdom sets the way on which time and season glide. Your breath guides the sail of the stars. Creator of the tide of time and light, you guide the current of day into night. As heaven spans to infinity, you set its course for eternity. Praise to you, Adonai, our God, from whom the evening flows. Baruch atah Adonai, Hama'ariv Aravim. And on the following page, everlasting love you offered your people Israel by teaching us Torah and mitzvot, laws and precepts. Therefore, Adonai our God, when we lie down and when we rise up, we will meditate on your laws and your commandments. We will rejoice in your Torah forever. Day and night we will reflect on them, for they are our life, and doing them lengthens our days. Never remove your love from us. Praise to you, Adonai, who loves your people Israel. Baruch atah Adonai, Ohev Amo Yisrael. Shema Yisrael, Adonai Eloheinu, Adonai Echad, Baruch Shem Kevod Malchuto Le'olam Va'ed. Unless your names are Micah and Sophia, I would invite you to be seated. Ladies, can I invite you forward as a preview of coming attractions to lead us in our Vea Hafta praise found on page 36.
ואהבת את אדוני אלוהיך בכל לבבך
דיברתם בשבתך בביתך ובלכתך בדרך ובשוכבך ובקומך ושרתם לאות על ידיך והיו לטוטפות בין עיניך וכתבתם על מזוזות ביתך ובשעריך למען תזכרו ועשיתם כל מצוותי והייתם קדושים לאלוהיכם. אני אדוני אלוהיכם אשר הוצאתי אתכם מארץ מצרים להיות לכם אלוהים. אני אדוני אלוהיכם.
Yasher Koach and Mazal Tov, I'm so excited to get to celebrate with you and with your family tomorrow. Well done. We turn to the top of page 39. Standing on the parted shores of history, we still believe what we were taught before ever we stood at Sinai's foot, that wherever we go it is eternally Egypt, that there is a better place, a promised land, that the winding way to that promise passes through the wilderness, that there is no way to get from here to there except by joining hands, marching together as we sing together on page 40.
מי כמוך בעלים אדוני, מי כמוך נהדר בקודש, נורא תהילות אוסף אלה, נורא תהילות אוסף אלה, מלכותך ראו בניך בוקי הים לפני משה ומרים זה לי ענו ואמרו אדוני ימלוך אדוני ימלוך לעולם ועד ונאמר כי פדה אדוני את יעקב וגאלו מיד חזק ממנו ברוך אתה אדוני גאל ישראל.
In Jewish tradition, it's almost as if we walk between two worlds, the world that we can see and experience with our eyes and our bodies, and the ideal world, the world that we wish to have. I know that I am a bit late, that yesterday was Veterans Day, but we take this opportunity to recognize, to thank the veterans not only in our temple community, but throughout this great country who have made our ideal world and our realized world just a little bit closer together. I recognize that Veterans Day yesterday was the first in a long time where our country has not been in a period of active war. And we hope and pray that that is indeed a long period ahead of us while we are grateful to those who protect our cherished freedom. Will you join me in the prayer on page 41 in the English, a prayer for peace, a recognition of thanks. Sing the song of men and women, joined in understanding and respect, the song of God's miracles, an earth protected and cherished, a gift for our children and the generations to come, the song of a land once ravished by war, now quiet and content, her soldiers home to leave no more, the song of a world redeemed, the song of peace. We turn in our prayer books now to the top of page 44, words of Vishamru, recognizing that this day of rest this day of peace, this day of aspiration remains with us throughout the generations.
Vishamru b'nei Yisrael et ha-Shabbat, lasot et ha-Shabbat, l'torotam b'rit olam. Vishamru b'nei Yisrael et ha-Shabbat, lasot et ha-Shabbat, l'torotam b'rit olam. Beini uvein b'nei Yisrael, oti le'olam. Vishamru b'nei Yisrael et ha-Shabbat, lasot et ha-Shabbat, l'torotam b'rit olam. Ki sheshet yamim asa Adonai, et ha-shamayim ve'et ha'aretz. Vishamru b'nei Yisrael et ha-Shabbat, lasot et ha-Shabbat, l'torotam b'rit olam. Uvayom hashvi Shabbat vayinafash, Shabbat vayinafash, Shabbat vayinafash. Vishamru b'nei Yisrael et ha-Shabbat, lasot et ha-Shabbat, l'torotam b'rit olam. Vishamru b'nei Yisrael et ha-Shabbat, lasot et ha-Shabbat, l'torotam b'rit olam.
Tefillah, the Amidah, our standing prayer, the central prayer, can be found on page 46. And indeed, I invite you to rise as we continue with these ancient words together.
Adonai sifatai tiftach ufi yagid tehilatecha. Adonai, open up my lips, that my mouth may declare your praise. Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu, Elohei Avoteinu ve'imotenu, Elohei Avraham, Elohei Yitzchak, Elohei Yaakov, Elohei Sarah, Elohei Rivka, Elohei Rachel, Elohei Leah. האל הגדול, הגיבור והנורא, אל עליון, גומל חסדים טובים, וקונה הכל, וזוכר חסדי אבות ואימהות, ומביא גאולה לבני בניהם, למען שמו באהבה. מלך עוזר ומושיע ומגן, ברוך אתה אדוני, מגן אברהם ועזרת שרה. אתה גיבור לעולם אדוני, מחיי הכל אתה רב להושיע, משיב הרוח ומוריד הגשם. מחכה חיים בחסד, מחיי הכל ברחמים רבים, סומך נופלים ורופא חולים, ומתיר אסורים, ומקיים אמונתו בשני עפר, וכמוך בעל גבורות ומידו מלך, מלך ממית ומחיה ומצמיח ישועה, בנאמן אתה להחיות הכל, Baruch atah Adonai, mechayeh ha'akol. Atah kadosh v'shimcha kadosh, u'kdoshim b'chol yom yehalelucha selah. Baruch atah Adonai, ha'el ha'kadosh.
The remaining blessings from this section of our service can be found through page 60 and 62. I invite you to continue with the words of tradition on the pages. I invite you to continue with the silent prayers and meditations that can only come from each of our own hearts. When you have finished your silent prayer this evening, I would invite you to be seated.
Ose shalom pimromav, hu yaseh shalom aleinu. Ose shalom pimromav, hu yaseh shalom aleinu. Ose shalom pimromav, hu yaseh shalom aleinu. Yaseh shalom, yaseh shalom, shalom aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael. Yaseh shalom, yaseh shalom, shalom aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael. Ose shalom bimromav, hu yaseh shalom aleinu. Ose shalom bimromav, hu yaseh shalom aleinu. Ose shalom bimromav, hu yaseh shalom aleinu. Yaseh shalom, yaseh shalom, shalom aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael. Yaseh shalom, yaseh shalom, shalom aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael. Yaseh shalom, yaseh shalom, shalom aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael. Yaseh shalom, yaseh shalom, shalom aleinu ve'al kol ha'olam.
Perhaps it's because it starts to feel like it's getting dark out around 2:30 or 3 in the afternoon. Perhaps it's because last night's rain and wind brought enough leaves off the trees that it truly feels like autumn. Perhaps it's being back in this beautiful space that reminds us with its grandiosity of our smallness. Perhaps it is all of these combined that make our prayer for healing a bit more poignant this evening. We recognize the frailty of our human bodies. We recognize the many challenges that we face as human beings. And we think of those, perhaps those in our midst tonight, as well as those among our community, our family and friends, who are suffering from ailments of mind, of body, of spirit. If there are those you are thinking of for our Mishaberach Lecholim, our prayer for healing this evening, I would invite you to share their names with the congregation. Baruch atah Adonai Rofeh HaCholim. Blessed are you, God, who brings a measure of comfort to all who are ill. We turn to page 253, page 253 for words of Mishaberach.
Mishaberach Avotenu Mikor habracha leimotenu. May the source of strength, who blessed the ones before us, help us find the courage to make our lives a blessing, and let us say, Amen. Mishaberach imotenu mikor habracha lavotenu. Bless those in need of healing with refuah shlema, the renewal of spirit, the renewal of body, and let us say, Amen.
When halakhic man approaches reality, he comes with his Torah, given to him from Sinai, in hand, writes Joseph Soloveitchik. Taking just a little bit of poetic license so that his words match our contemporary understanding, I continue the quote, "She orients herself to the world by means of fixed statutes and firm principles. Halakhic man with furnished rules, judgments, fundamental principles draw near to the world with an a priori relation. Her approach begins with an ideal creation and concludes with a real one." I'm still working to understand Soloveitchik's philosophy. Don't feel alone if that sounded to you like word soup. The best I've been able to puzzle out so far is a beautiful idea indeed. Judaism, our sacred text, our connection to God, gives us a guidebook, an instruction manual, a map of ideals to overlay on what we see in the real world. We hold in our minds an ideal vision for what this world could be, and with our eyes, we see a realistic vision of what it is, creating two images in our mind, the world as it is and the world as it could or should be. Those two images may seem starkly different at times, but with our highest values in mind, we can at least remember what it is we are working toward. It is perhaps the very definition of imagination, the faculty of forming ideas or images or concepts of external objects not present to our senses. And that is central to our ability to change the world. Judaism trains us, Rabbi Bradley Artson teaches, to visualize a world that could be. Using our imaginations, we pull together learnings of and yearnings for our highest values. And when we channel those toward justice and holiness, we can create a better world. Judaism gives us those values. It gives us the inspiration. It gives us the guidance. And through the performance of mitzvot, we can translate our idealistic vision into our living reality. In this week's Torah portion, our patriarch Jacob comes to the same conclusion, albeit a little bit more quickly. With his head on a stone, Jacob dreams a dream of a ladder stretching to heaven, of angels first going up and then down that ladder, of God's self appearing and proclaiming, "I am Adonai, the God of Abraham and the God of Isaac, your father," and renewing the covenant in that third generation. Jacob awakens with the world, "Achen yesh Adonai b'makom hazeh v'anochi lo yadati." Surely God's presence is in this place, and I didn't know it. And he awakens with a newfound revelation that more is possible than he ever could have imagined. It was a turning point in his life, recognizing the presence of God around him, and with that understanding, the ability to create a new reality rather than to only follow what was in front of him. He had control of his destiny. He was a part of the covenant and spiritual inheritance of his ancestors. He could work to bring about a more ideal reality. Each of us has this very power. We look at the world as it is, but then we select what facts matter to us and how they matter, and what it is we're willing to accept and what it is we must change. We look at the world as it is, and we imagine what it should be. Where our two visions diverge is exactly where our presence, our actions, and our creativity, where our values are needed. And there are so many places where our values, where our presences are needed. From global needs like the United Nations Climate Change Conference ending today, to challenges of attention-seeking anti-Semitic graffiti in our own backyard, from heinous reports of transgression and wrongdoing in the institutions of our reform movement, to pending legislation that threatens all of our safety here in the state of Pennsylvania. Sometimes it feels like this world is too far from ideal. But if I work on that which most concerns me, on changing those facts that I can't live with, and you work on changing those facts that you just can't live with, if we divide and conquer according to our values, we are each Soloveitchik's halakhic man and woman. We are each Rabbi Artsen's creative, inspired visionary. We are each Jacob's descendant. We have the values. We have the inspiration. We have the guidance. And through the performance of mitzvot, we can translate our idealistic vision into a living reality. May we make it so, and may this be in accordance with God's will. Ken Yehi Ratzon. I invite you now to turn back into your prayer book, back into your sacred text, as we continue with words of Aleinu L'Shabeach. These words can be found on the bottom of page 282. When you have found your page, I invite you to rise as together we join in song and prayer. 282.
Aleinu l'shabeach l'adon hakol, לתת גדולה ליוצר בראשית, שלא עשנו כגויי הארצות, ולא שמנו כמשפחות האדמה, שלא שם חלקנו כהם, וגורלנו ככל המונם, ואנחנו קוראים ומשתחווים ומודים לפני מלך מלכי המלכים הקדוש ברוך הוא. ונאמן והיה אדוני למלך על כל הארץ ביום ההוא
seated. This time in our service, our thoughts turn to those who are no longer with us, our friends and family, the righteous of all nations, upon whose shoulders we stand as we reach for greater heights, trying to blend that ideal and real worlds. We mourn the recent passing of Edward Hopkins and observe the period of Shloshim from Marilyn, Mimi Bernard, Edward Bollner, and Dal Goldstein. This Shabbat, we also recognize the yahrzeit, the commemoration of the passing of William M. Ballin, Diane Slavkin Benson, Esther Berkowitz, Charles Blyer, Daniel Brand, Frida Kaplan, Belle Cohen, Sidney Cohen, Sylvia Fabricant, Paul Fitting, Louis S. Frankel, Joseph Genstein, David Gurman, Betty Golden, Sarah Goldstein, Robert S. Gollum, Ida Gorin, Morris Graff, Saul Kaufman, Arthur Kramer, Lillian Beebe Light, David London, Esther Bella Maislish, Norma Mandel, Mary May, Shirley B. McWhorters, Tessie Plotkin, Leo Roos, Beatrice Rosenblum, Evelyn Rostalski, Samuel L. Simons, Phyllis Stein, Elka Weisman, Bob Wolf, Herbert S. Wolf, Ann Zeichner, and Bernard Zolat. Herbert S. Wolf, Ann Zeichner, and Bernard Zolat. Are there others you are remembering this Shabbat, or whose names I've inadvertently mispronounced? Yehei zichronam livracha. May the memory of all of our loved ones be for us an everlasting blessing. As we turn to page 294, preparing to affirm words of Kaddish Yatom, page 294, I invite you to rise if it's comfortable to do so. Yit gadol v'yit kadash shemei Rabba, be'alma divrach chirutei ve'amlich malchutei, b'chayechon u'vyomechon, u'chayei dechol beit Yisrael, ba'agala v'zman kariv ve'imru amen. Yehei shemei Rabba mevorach le'olam lamei amaya. Yitbarach v'yishtabach v'yitpa'ar v'yitromam v'yitnaseh, v'yithadar v'yit'aleh v'yit'halal shemei d'chudsha v'richu. Le'ela min kol birchata v'shirata, tushbechata v'nechamata, damiran be'alma v'imru amen. Yehei shalama rabba min shemaya, v'chaim aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael, v'imru amen. Oseh shalom bimromav, hu ya'aseh shalom, aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael, v'imru amen. May God, who makes peace in the highest of heavens, make peace for us and for all who mourn. Together we say, Amen. I invite you to be seated. Thank you to everyone who has joined us in prayer this evening, for those who are back with us in the sanctuary for what feels like the first time in too long, and for those who are joining us in sacred virtual community. Apologies for the slight technical glitches as we get this system up and running. Thank you, Leslie Hoffman, for making the magic happen behind the scenes, and student Cantor Sierra Fox for leading us in prayer and leading us in a special opportunity this weekend as well.
Yes, I invite anyone who is interested in being involved in collaborative music making, either in an ensemble or from the congregation, to come to a meeting, let's say, on Sunday at noon. There will be some light singing involved, but no obligations to feel like you need to be able to read music or know exactly what you want out of it. It's an opportunity to share what your hopes are for music making, what you would like to hear, what you would like to sing, and how you would like to go about doing it. So I invite you to join that brief meeting on Sunday at 12, I believe, in the library. Excellent. I hope to see you there. Anyone is willing to join, or anyone is welcome to join if you are willing. And please feel free to get in touch if you can't make that meeting and would like to share thoughts.
Wonderful. Thank you so much. We turn now to words of our closing song, again taken from this week's Torah portion. These words aren't in your book, but Achein yesh Adonai b'makom hazeh. God's presence can be found all around us if we but open our eyes and see.
I am all around in every daydream. I am all you are and all you know. I am all around. I heard this voice say, I am all you are and all you know. Never far away, I'm on your side. This voice went on to say, here's how you know. See me in the sunny mornings like the clouds, I'm high above. I have filled your days with laughter and your heart with love. Achein yesh Adonai b'makom hazeh ve'anochi lo yadati. Achein yesh Adonai b'makom hazeh ve'anochi lo yadati. Wanting to believe this voice inside me, trust there's something there for me to hold. No, I'm not alone with all these feelings. History has shown, and we've been told. Can you hear the children singing? Don't you feel their spirit grow? Surely God is with me always, but I did not know. Achein yesh Adonai b'makom hazeh ve'anochi lo yadati. Achein yesh Adonai b'makom hazeh ve'anochi lo yadati. One more time. Achein yesh Adonai b'makom hazeh ve'anochi lo yadati. Achein yesh Adonai b'makom hazeh ve'anochi lo yadati. When you struggle for your freedom, I am right there close at hand. Oh, the world got better when we understand. I am all around in every daydream. I am all you are and all you know.
Mazal Tov, Micah, Sophia, Cooper family, Shabbat Shalom.
Shabbat Shalom.